Hi, Rosie.
Hi, Valerie. How
are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
You look very excited for the interview.
I am.
Yeah.
And thank you very much for asking me to speak.
It's going to be more of a dialogue, less of an interview. Thank you so much for taking time being here with us. It's very important for us to have these kind of dialogues directly with the policymakers, the individuals who sit in the decision-making rooms. It's a bigger part of meaningful youth engagement and participation. So the British government has consistently funded initiatives towards ending female genital mutilation. So the question is, why does the British government care about female genital mutilation?
Thanks. It's a very important question. So you will know that FGM is one of the most extreme manifestations of gender-based violence and gender inequality. It's a human rights violation that can have a lifetime impact in terms of physical, psychological and emotional suffering for the individual. It also has a massive implication for healthcare costs. At the moment, according to the WHO, it costs around 1.4 billion US dollars per year, and that's going to rise to $2.1 billion by 2047. And that is why the UK cares about ending FGM. It must end now, and we all have a role to play in that. So every girl, woman, boy, man, everywhere around the world, we can all work towards ending FGM.
Okay, that's really great, especially the numbers. It really goes to show that female genital mutilation needs to end now. Seeing the importance and the weight of the issue that we are talking about today, we are seeing that around the world there is major pushback. It's worrying actually around women's rights and equality. And the UK has been a really strong international champion and funder around initiatives towards ending female genital mutilation. So how is the UK using its diplomatic influence, bilaterally and multilaterally to safeguard the progress that has already been made and ensuring that, FGM remains an international priority?
Yeah. It's a really important question. And I think the UK is proud to be a global champion to end FGM. We make sure that we use all our bilateral and multilateral platforms to try and work with others, including, our international diplomatic partners, but also civil society organisations, the UN, etc., to try and make that difference, make that end to FGM. I think in terms of how we do that, obviously we do that through joining resolutions, joint statements, say within the UN, the Commission for the Status of Women, but also through funding programs and also through global advocacy. I think here we work with the African Union and also with the East African community and try to make sure that we can work with them on accountability mechanisms and making more sustainable systems be in place to end FGM.
Yeah, I think you brought up a really important point around ensuring that the accountability mechanisms and the systems are in place, because change has to happen holistically, not just within the UK government or the AU working on its own or the East African government working on its own. All of us have to come together to safeguard the progress that has already been made towards female genital mutilation.
Yeah.
The UK has helped nurture a great generation of youth advocates who are advocating against FGM, including myself. Yeah. And this has been under the TGG ALM program. So looking forward, how can the UK government and local partners work beyond the program cycles to ensure that we have a sustainable approach when it comes to ending female genital mutilation? Yeah.
That is really important. I think we all know that there are significant challenges in terms of the global funding picture, not only for ending FGM, but on a whole range of really important human rights issues, and also in a context where we're seeing a rollback on women's and girls' rights and gender equality more generally. We are very committed to sustaining that commitment to ending FGM, even within that context. So we have to think differently about how we do that. We are super proud of the flagship program that you mentioned, the Girl Generation, the support to the Africa-led Africa-led movement to end FGM. Through that support, we are making sure that we are embedding sustainability into it so that that work can continue even when the funding stops or is reduced, if that makes sense. So that is important in terms of looking at how you can strengthen national systems, how you can support policy reform, and also investing in development and the dissemination of information, knowledge products that partners can use long term. I think also within that, the capacity building of the people that we're working with or our partner organisations that are delivering the initiative, like AFREM, like the Orchid Project, it's really important that they can invest in building the capacity of people working on this issue in communities, working with those survivor advocates and working with grassroots organisations and youth activists. So I think also globally, obviously, we'll continue to champion this through our diplomatic relationships. And as we were saying before, the bilateral and multilateral platforms, making sure that we keep convening people, bringing them together, underscoring the importance of ending FGM and working together to practically make that a reality.
Yeah, I think I would really want to affirm around capacity building and capacity strengthening of local partners, the youth networks and the civil society as a bigger part of the picture around sustainability.
Yeah.
Because I've really seen that work, especially for us young people, when it comes to sustainability, because when our capacity is built, when our capacity is strengthened, we go on, we get even more young people into the advocacy space. We get even more young people as champions. So I think that's really, really critical. And then that's going to work as a sustainability approach. Yeah. So I do have a question around the impact that we have seen around the Africa-led movement.
Yeah.
And this is really important for me because I really love to hear from people's perspectives how they measure impact and how they see impact, right? So over the past few years, the UK government has been supporting the girl generation under the Africa-led movement, right? So what would you say are some of our biggest wins or impact? Yeah, from your perspective.
It's a very good question. And I think that from where I'm sitting, one of the biggest impacts has been the ability of that initiative to empower youth and survivor advocates who are now absolutely leading that change in their communities, which is amazing to see, very powerful and really inspirational, and hopefully encourages other people to do that. I think in terms of what does that actually look like in practice, I think we're seeing some change in attitudes and behaviours. We were talking before, it takes a long time to change sort of social and cultural norms, but hopefully this is the beginning of that. I think there's been a reduced stigma against uncut girls and strengthened local protection mechanisms. Yeah. I think it's also shown what can work when we're trying to end FGM, and that can feed into the bigger global efforts. So learning from that in terms of both policy and practice, which is really impressive. I think all the partner organisations are doing an absolutely brilliant job, and we're super proud of them. We're seeing more girls being supported to stay in school, they've got access to safe spaces, and they're building leadership skills. We all know that empowering women and girls is one of the key ways that we'll tackle the root causes of not only FGM, but broader gender inequality.
We had a school mentorship, and I asked one of these girls, would you undergo female genital mutilation? And she said, no. My parents know that I do not want to go under female genital mutilation. And I asked her, so what would happen if your parents were to take you through female? And she said, I know the number. So I challenged her. I said, what's the helpline number? And she said, it's 116. I said, amazing. And she said, yeah, we were taught that in school by just the same young people who are conducting these mentorship sessions. So we can already see that the change is already cascading. I would also say those are some of the big impacts that I've seen through the TGG ALM project.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I used to work on an initiative on girls' education, and that was about making sure not only that all girls had access to a good education, but also that it was a quality education over a sustained period of time. And I think that is really important. And parents and the wider community, particularly community leaders, religious leaders, understanding that importance.
I think that really wraps up around the systemic change that we were talking about. Like, we know what should be done. It's a bit hard to see that the thing that needs to be done is not being done, and male involvement is really, really important. We always say that FGM will end with our generation. And as we wrap up our interview, I would just want to ask you one quick fire question. Do you have a favorite food in Kenya?
Food
Yes.
in Kenya?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So I love that you've asked me that question
Yeah.
because I love food. And I've only been here a few weeks in Kenya, and the amount of fresh vegetables and fruit that I can get is so exciting.
Yeah, let me plug you. So the next time you're getting the vegetables, ask them to give you something called ugali.
Ugali.
It's our staple food. You will love it.
Brilliant.
Thank
All
you
right.
so much.
Thank you so much, Valerie.
Okay.
Thanks.